Hey guys, Big P. So I realized I kind of messed up in the future where you kind of want to use Sorbent's ultimate to give additional energy and turns to Hyacinth instead of Evernight. So Hyacinth can give you a ridiculous amount of additional new buff for casterist mains. If you're still going to be running Evernight main DPS, then you do want to make Evernight have a lot more energy and cast her ultimate as fast as possible, right? So just a little bit of a heads up. Heads up, if you like lore cinema, I highly recommend playing through Amphorius before watching this video. With that being said, Amphorius, assemble. Hey guys, Big P here. So this is going to be our complete guide and review to the upcoming version 4.5 Irontomb Anomaly Arbitration King Showcase, going through the team's mechanics and tips and tricks so that you guys can prepare yourselves for what I personally feel is one of, if not the best, the hardest, the most cinematic Anomaly Arbitration King fight that we have ever seen. So I'll be going through the design over here first, including a couple of their brand new elites, the Anomaly buffs, and finally Irontomb itself. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into the content. So for the design of Irontomb, I don't think this unit needs any introduction. The name is going to be Anti-Creator Hatred Inundate, whom I'm just going to be calling Irontomb from now on. Bro is basically the final boss of Amphorius and the cinematic climax of 1 year of build-up. With this boss and the final team, one of, if not the most cinematic experiences you would have experienced playing Honkai style rail. With 3 multiple phases, brand new mechanics, one of which that instantly defeats you if you're not going to be managing the hatred properly, as well as 2 brand new elites, which is, holy, that is some insane proportions. So for Irontomb's design, number 1, we can actually take a look at this fight right here, which is available in the current Echoes of War, with a very similar mechanic but without the Anomaly Arbitration buffs and debuffs, as well as this massive HP pool, so feel free to try this here for yourselves later on. Regarding the boss design, we do have the main target that's going to be Irontomb, as well as the 2 summons, the gold ball being Mythos and the blue ball being Logos. So taking a look into the lore for Irontomb himself, these 2 summons are going to be originating from the ancient Greek philosophy. As the name suggests, Mythos refers to the epic chronicles, romantic legends, as well as countless ages that gave them their meaning, which is the tale that is Amphorius. While Logos, on the other hand, refers to the chase of truth and knowledge as the erudition, both of them pretty much being manipulated in their form, which is why they are both known as suppressed with this particular fight right here. And as the name suggests, the Anti-Creator is going to be the direct result of the materialized hatred in Amphorius from the billions of sufferings as well as the darkness of destruction. This entity is also literally made by emerging from Phinon's charred remains as seen from his card scheme, which is also why during the story fight itself, players actually cannot use Phinon as a combat unit, since you pretty much cannot use yourself to fight yourself in-game, for the lore anyways. With Ice, Lightning, as well as Quantum Weakness, this fight is very clearly signaling to players slapping on their Mimo flagship and going all in over here, although Phinon himself is also surprisingly strong against Irontomb with his mechanics. And I just want to say, playing this boss fight and playing this Anomaly Arbitration, it really just makes me appreciate this entire boss design as well as the 1 year of story from Amphorius. Please take me back to version 3 because this entire cinema, fight scenes, music, everything was just, I don't really think it can compare to anything else in HSR. Then moving into the brand new elites we're going to be getting, it's going to be Lighthouse as well as Astropolis Sentinel, and holy shit, those are some insane body. I have absolutely no idea what the IPC is trying to cook here, allowing bro to summon an army of clangers like that, but they are absolutely cooking. So the design for Lighthouse is going to be the main robot, built on the same model as Fury Praetor, which is going to be from the Amphorius saga, though the thick bots are entirely new as far as I can remember, because I will definitely not forget a build like that. The weapon that Lighthouse uses also transforms into a charge blade upon using his ultimate move, which is also a very cool design for any Monster Hunter players out there. So with the designs out of the way, let's just jump straight into the main course, which are gonna be the mechanics for these 2 fights. Again, Irontomb can be fought in Echoes of War, but without the Anomaly buffs, so feel free to go and try it for yourselves. Now, just quickly touch on the elite first because this is relatively straightforward. For Lighthouse as well as Azure Polar Sentinel, fighting this is gonna be only at Anomaly Arbitration Night 1, similar to the Titankin Fury Praetor, with the War Armor mechanics but slightly more annoying because he combines this brand new debuff, somewhat similar to Hule. So he will summon the mobs, which is gonna be the Clankers, right, the Tick bots, and he has the same built-in system where you need to hit him 12 times in order to dispel his powered up state. During this time, every single time his Tick bots attack, and sometimes they do attack twice, it will give him back 1 stack. So if the Tick bots attack twice, that's going to be giving him 2 stacks. So it is very, very possible you might not have enough hits to cancel this state unless using a high frequency attacker like Ashblade as well as Sorbit. The summons themselves will also hit twice and seen from the AV bar, which can be good for free energy, but just keep in mind for this particular elite, the damage can be pretty high, especially with its burst. So watch out if you're going to be using sustains like, for example, Huo, which just is not going to be sustaining as comfortably as compared to DHPT as well as Hyacinth. Generally, I don't think this elite is too annoying, at least compared to all of the AHA slot release like Joyful Ascender or the Little Chicken, which basically forces you to have an AHA instance, so I think this is gonna be not too shabby. Now, moving on to the anomaly buffs, we do have quite a bit of new buffs as well as debuffs for this time around, and thankfully we do not have a depower debuff to cuck out energy users, so that's really, really good. The Knights are nothing new except for Lighthouse, so I'll just briefly touch on the Night 1, 2, and 3 first. For the Knights, you will be facing Lighthouse with Coca-Cola in Night 1 with the new debuff Scales that will be present in the King fight itself. So for Night 1, you're going to be getting Scales as well as Unwavering, and yes, this Unwavering does say enemy's toughness bar cannot be reduced, and break damage taken is reduced by 50%. So Cocolia finally has enough of the Firefly mains absolutely destroying her every single time, so all break users are pretty much going to be a no-go for Night 1 over here. Now, regarding Scales, this is clearly designed for high hit counts like, for example, Sobi with Burbs or the current Ashblade as well as Nimiko with a lot of different individual hits. This can be pretty annoying as at max dex, it is gonna be a 40% damage reduction, and it will also reset during boss transition phases, which is especially annoying for Anomaly Arbitration King because Irontomb does have 3 phases. So for this fight for Night 1, Ashblade follow-up attack Nimiko will do very, very well. And then for Night 2, it's not going to be too crazy, it's going to be the same old Sparksicle. Same flow break from last time as well. It's kind of like Scales, but it's a lot easier to remove as long as you have follow-up attack or the AHA instance, and it doesn't start from 20, so it's going to be a little bit more of an anti-high frequency attackers like, for example, Mimo units. So the Sparksicle itself is going to be O, so just use your Elation flagship over here or any of the previous teams that you used for Sparksicle. And then for Night 3, it's going to be same old Flame Weaver with this brand new debuff called Joint Forces. Now, I don't really remember seeing this buff before unless it appeared in like super early Anomaly Arbitration. And while this is going to be made for Mimo slot, most teams can actually just go into Night 3 because the cap is going to be a 60% damage reduction. And as long as you have 3 different additional allied targets, you will get the full benefits. So for units like Hyacinth, Sobin, RMC, they can already provide 40 to 60% of the removal. So realistically, most teams can make use of this since it doesn't really go beyond the 60% damage reduction, right? I would say for a lot of your different teams, if you do want to throw in one of your weaker teams, I feel Night 3 is most likely going to be the way to go as long as you can give them any of your Mimo Sprite units for the additional removal of damage taken. So if all that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the Irontomb boss fight itself. I'm just going to be going through a couple of the Anomaly Arbitration buffs for the fight specifically, then going through the general combat, right, all of the different phase changes as well as mechanics. So starting off for the debuffs, it will be Hemovore as well as Scales. So Hemovore is going to be our classic 500 fixed HP reduction and the new mechanic, which is going to be incentivizing our high hit units. Generally, I would say because of Hemovore, Mimo Sprite, especially if you're going to be running our Remembrance flagship, is gonna be one of, if not the best performing teams right here that's perfectly designed for this particular fight, which I feel is pretty lore appropriate as well. And then for the 3 different buffs, we'll have 1 for AHA stop exclusively, 2 is gonna be our general purpose buff instead of 3, which is usually our general purpose buff, as well as the 3rd buff for Mimo stop exclusively. Buff 2 is actually a really smooth buff to use because it activates a lot of units ultimates really quickly, which is where the battle will take place the longest because he does have a massive 90% damage reduction all the way at the start of combat with both of his summons at full HP. So with that being established, let's just jump straight into what Irontomb's mechanics are gonna be. For some general mechanics, as I've mentioned, the fight will be extremely slow with the 50% damage mitigation on top of the 40% max skills for this 90% damage reduction. So don't really worry about it if you're looking like you're doing 0 damage, because your goal will always be trying to deal fatal damage to Logos and Mythos ASAP, effectively freeing them, removing the damage reduction, and just deal way more raw damage to Irontomb. So as you can see from this combat, bro does have a absolutely massive 360 toughness bar, and both of his summons does not have a toughness bar period. With a lack of a break buff entirely, we can have a moment of silence for all of our Firefly mains, so I guess it is gonna be time to take a break. Get it? Okay, smash a like and subscribe button, thank you. Now, I would say the best way to dealing with Irontomb is gonna be first removing the skills by hitting as frequently as possible, then trying to deal with his summons as soon as possible. Now, Irontomb has the mechanic of a shared HP pool like the TV banana boss, so any damage you deal to the summons will be the same exact damage you're gonna be dealing to the main body. However, the summons will have their individual buffs and debuffs, so skills on Irontomb are gonna be different from the skills on the summons. You can see over here, Irontomb here has 8 stacks of skills remaining, whereas the summons still have 11 stacks. The summons will also always share the same action value as Irontomb because they are essentially extensions of Irontomb itself, so if you delay Irontomb with a break or action delay, then the summons will also be delayed altogether. Now, throughout this entire fight, even if you're gonna be dealing fatal damage to the summons, they will always remain on field as a target. So phase 1 and phase 2 is always gonna be 3 targets, while phase 3 sometimes it will be 2 targets because Irontomb will become untargetable to charge his ultimate. Remember, you still deal damage to him via the summons, but you cannot remove his skills because he is not the target at phase 3. Now, breaking both of them over here is also going to be absolutely crucial as it will remove the massive 50% damage reduction, so we'll finally start dealing some true raw damage on top of the removal of all of the skills debuff. So the longer this fight goes, the more damage you will actually do. Now, with those general knowledge out of the way, let's just talk straight about the summons themselves, which I personally think is super important for you guys to understand because they do pack some extremely punishing debuffs. So Mythos is gonna be the one on the left, which is gonna be the golden ball. This is in charge of casting this action lock state should you not deal fatal damage and place him in the grave wound state. On the flip side, if you do manage to kill Mythos and place him in the grave wound, it will give us a team-wide action value advance. And then on the right side, there's gonna be Logos or the blue ball. This will cause a massive 50% maximum energy reduction if you cannot place it into the grave wound state. But if you can actually do it, then it will give you a team-wide energy regeneration. So regarding on how these debuffs work, Irontomb will always do 1 attack plus 1 buff on either Logos or Mythos, with Irontomb's next attack casting said debuff. Then it will charge the next debuff at the same time for the very same attack cycle, because you will always have 3 different actions happening with Irontomb, with 1 Irontomb, 1 Mythos, and 1 Logos. I think Logos, which is going to be our energy debuff, will always go first so far from my personal experience. So the attack cycle will be looking something like this. Irontomb will cast an attack, either single target on AoE, followed by one of the boss attacking, and then one of the boss will start charging the debuff. And then the next turn, if you cannot break the ball or place the ball into the grave wound state, Irontomb will then cast set debuff, which is either going to be energy reduction or the action lock state, and then the next ball is going to attack, and the next ball will then charge the alternate debuff. The cycle then will always repeat itself until it reaches next phase, which is also going to be very similar. Now, regarding the combat buffs as well as debuffs themselves, the 50% energy debuff is actually max energy and not current energy, so it is an extremely punishing debuff if aimed at units like, for example, Emblade, Sobin, Evernite, Nimiko, Hyacinth, basically anyone who needs their energy ultimate. But luckily for non-energy units like, for example, Cyrene, this is not gonna affect us whatsoever. Then phase 1 is gonna be single target, while phase 2 and phase 3, this is gonna be an AoE energy reduction. And for the other debuff, which is going to be the action lock state, this action lock is essentially your unit is kind of like banned from the entire fight until you either get some action advance or energy regeneration. You can actually cleanse this first action lock with Silverwolf 99's global passive, but others, ideally, you would want to break Mythos as soon as possible. There's also a chance to resist this effect with effect rest, as seen from Sobin right here, or if you're going to be units like, for example, Evernite. I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be applied for all of our units, but I would have to assume that any effect rest will work here. So phase 1 for this action log is going to be single target, then phase 2 and phase 3 is going to be AoE. So for both of the buffs, once you're going to be defeating the summons, it is the exact same for phase 1, phase 2 as well as phase 3. So you do want to beat both Mythos as well as the logos as soon as possible. Now there's also this additional mechanic that can cleanse us from the action log state as well as giving us a tremendous amount of ultimate, which is going to be this thing called Cyrene Support, an independent action that can instantly cleanse an action log state as well as fully activating the ultimates regardless of energy typing. So I personally just like the classes on my main DPS for the maximum amount of damage, assuming the lock is not gonna be an issue. Now, wanting to know that this might be a very niche situation, but action lock might be a good thing for units that run Mei, who wants her buff to last longer by not taking a turn, but once again, this is gonna be very niche. One last way to stop the debuff for Irontomb is to break his massive 360 toughness bar, which will reset his action and let me start all over again, but that being said, this can be extremely difficult for most situations. So with all that being explained, your goal as a player is to basically deal with logos as well as Mythos as soon as possible at every single phase, because killing them will prevent a super punishing debuff while giving you teamwide action value as well as energy, while removing the 50% damage reduction on Irontomb himself. Then for the next mechanic, if this already sounds scary enough, there's also the Hatred bar as seen from the top left corner, where every single action Irontomb and his summons take will advance this by a certain percent, ranging from 1% all the way to 20%, which is gonna be our phase 3 ultimate. The moment this hatred bar reaches 100%, you will instantly lose the fight, just like how this will happen in our Echoes of War boss fight. Now regarding this mechanic, you can combat this with love literally from Cyrene, as you can summon her and AoE in combat by pressing R, which is gonna be the top right hand corner of the button, reducing a flat 30% hatred while dealing decent damage to Irontomb itself. This charges once every 4 ultimates and can hold up to 2 charges, so faster ultimates means more Cyrene, meaning more love, meaning less hatred. Now I would say the best time to use Cyrene's love is right after the actual Irontomb casts its debuff on your team, namely from the phase 2 phase change as well as the phase 3 ultimate, which will cause a debuff that will reduce your max HP as well as skill point limit, so using Cyrene R here will immediately cleanse said debuff. Otherwise, I would tend to try to hold off for more R stacks at phase 3, since it will literally deal double the damage. And now speaking about phase change, for phase 1 to phase 2, Irontomb will go once and hit you with a debuff, so save a Cyrene R over here for the cleanse, then the next Irontomb will be every single phase 3 ultimate. Now between phase 1 as well as phase 2, there's honestly not much difference in their attack patterns. Besides the added AoE targeting as well as brand new attack animations, our goal is still going to be the exact same, so continue doing whatever you're doing in phase 1. Then going into the final phase, besides the absolute cinema music, there's also not too big of a difference, but every single time Irontomb charges ultimate, you can only hit logos as well as Mythos. So for this part, you can actually interrupt the ultimate if you somehow do enough damage to break both hands, but this is extremely difficult because you typically have less than 40 action value. However, if you do break this, then he will instantly cancel this ultimate charging state and it is time to go all in, while also allowing Irontomb himself to be targeted. But keep in mind, his skill is always gonna set back to 20 with every single phase change, so for single target users, always aim the summons instead of Irontomb. Keep in mind, for phase 3's ultimate move from Irontomb, it will always have both effects of energy reduction as well as the AV lock. And I do believe if Irontomb does activate the enhanced tech, so either if you cannot break the energy reduction or the AV lock, or if you can't stop him from casting his ultimate, the debuff, which is gonna be where the actual big Irontomb casts down minus the skill points ceiling as well as the max HP, this debuff will also proc every single time that enhanced attack happens, so it will be happening more than just like 2 or 3 times. Be prepared to cleanse this with Cyrene's love. Now, with all of that being established, I personally would recommend a couple of the following team comps. They are gonna be the Mimo's Right flagship, the Elation flagship, E2 Final, Nimiko, Ashblade, E2 Sobbing Wheelchair, Archer, or potentially our Saber plus Gilgamesh combination. So yeah, that is gonna be pretty much of our entire Irontomb guide. Overall, it is a super fun as well as cinematic fight. I can't really wait for the live server because this fight is just so fun to play. I will do a single demonstration right here with our Mimo flagship because I feel it is gonna be pretty lore appropriate. So with that, I will see you guys in just a second for Amphorius. Alright, hey guys, Big P here. So this is gonna be our live demonstration against Anomaly Arbitration King. The time now is honestly Super late, right? I have not been getting any sleep for the past couple of days, so we are just gonna immediately jump straight in. We will be using our Casters as well as Hyacinth, Evernight, and Cyrene. Not meant to be relatable because I've been pretty much using these cards for our previous cost analysis testing with Sobin. So straight up, the lore accurate and forest team comp. Without further ado, let's just jump right in right now. We already activated our buff tree, which is gonna be designed for our Mimo Sprite teams. And then I'll just play this battle as it goes. I decided to enable my music for this particular fight because I really want you guys to just hear the absolute cinematic music, especially for the final phase itself, right? So we are just gonna let go of all of our thingies right here. And in case you guys haven't seen our cost analysis video where I kind of just went through all of our Mimo sprites alongside with the comparison with Mimiko with Sobin, you can kind of check out the previous video over there. I'm not sure which video is my editor going to post out first, but I'm just going to be making this right now as we're going to be talking about this. Summoning our Hyacinth ultimate right here. And we are about to get ourselves the full stacks for Evernight. Okay, so right now this is gonna be where our next attack will be reducing our allies' energy, and unfortunately this target has locked on to Evernight. Now the good thing about this is if Evernight casts her ultimate and she technically has no energy left, then the debuff doesn't really matter whatsoever, so you can try to time your buffs as well as debuffs based on what the enemy is gonna be going for, right? So for us over here, I'm just gonna be trying to greed a little bit more because we do have ourselves the Hemovore for the HP reduction. Then once our Mimo Sprite action is going to be going, our Evernight is also going to be casting an ultimate very soon. Okay. I kind of just want to wait for one more Evernight out so that I can greet with Cyrene's ultimate here a little bit. Yeah, and the music is in fact going to be Liger's team, so that is very nice. Pop this open over here, and you can see our damage is actually not going to be that significant despite the fact that we are running E2 Castris, E2 Cyrene as well as E2 Evernight because of the scales as well as the 50% damage mitigation, but we are not really going to be worrying about that too much. So once this jellyfish is going to go, Hyacinth will just pop open. Oh, we don't really need a Hyacinth ultimate because of this right here. So from this point, I can actually let go of my Cyrene out, where we'll get ourselves a full energy refund. And we'll see if we can actually deal with the summons so that I will not let Evernight get any energy reduction, though it is not going to be that bad since we will be using up most of our energy beforehand, but I think it should be more or less fine for us, right? So we're just going to go in with this. Character is going to be going for Swipe, and then we are just going to be going for the break right here, dealing as much damage as humanly possible. Okay, our damage is super high because of the amount of cost we have. Okay, we do get the action very advanced. You can see that this is barely just there, right? You can see that he actually did not break just yet. So this is where the summon actually entered into their grave wound state. So you will see that their profile is going to be glitching a little bit, whereas this thing hasn't really reached. So you kind of actually want to let go of your ultimates right now because you are about to get yourself a full energy reset, right? So I will hope that Iga does not kill here. Okay, unfortunately Iga did kill, so we kind of just have to go for it right now. Then Hyacinth, okay, I actually don't really want to kill this too quickly so that you guys can kind of see the mechanics here as well. But I will just let this go into phase 2. He's gonna enter into this situation, and then once Irontomb hits us with the debuff, we can actually go in with our Cyrene Love. Alright, so I typically always try to aim either the logos or the needles because you do want to aim to break these two ASAP before Irontomb himself, right? Especially if you're going to be playing this at a low cost. But just for our demonstration purpose, I kind of just want to show you guys what Bro is able to do. I will basically do something like this. Alright. Then remember what I said about the attack pattern. He will always do one normal attack, then one normal attack, and then this guy will start charging. So the very next debuff, so far from what I've seen, it's always logos being our very first debuff, which is going to be the energy reduction. So this is going to be full AoE, and the ball is going to attack, and then this guy is going to start charging. So if I cannot break the hand right here within 40 AV, then the Irontomb's next action is going to be causing a team-wide energy reduction. I think just for the purpose of this video, I'm intentionally just going to stall my damage a little bit just to take a look at its animations in a more clear fashion like here. Alright. Yeah, so I'm just not gonna break, and then we'll just hold this, and you can kind of see bro's additional brand new attack animation, which you can see over here. It doesn't really affect non-energy units. So you can see my highest is gonna be at max health, or rather max energy. So that's gonna be the full AOE. So it's gonna reduce our energy exactly by 50%. So you can see Evernight literally has 0 energy remaining, but for both Casterus as well as Cyrene, it is gonna be okay, right? And for that here, right, Irontomb is gonna go for another debuff, which we can then cleanse with our love from Cyrene as well. Now take a look over here, our actual Cyrene support is about to act very, very soon. So I do ideally always want to give this to a unit like, for example, Casterus. That is going to be our main DPS, right? You can see Evernight literally has no energy, and the Hyacinth just now was literally right at 50% of max energy. I'm going to let go of one of my ults right here. Alright, and then I'm just going to go for this. Let's just cleanse one of the debuffs right now. But you honestly don't use this as a cleanse if you want to save this for wave, or rather phase 3, because phase 3, your Cyrene's love will actually deal substantially more damage. It's basically going to be double, but just for demonstration purpose, I'm just going to be going for that, cleansing the debuff, and then we're going to be going for the swipe, and then Dragon is going to go in for our 200% charge. And then this is gonna be the break from Mito, so it'll give us the action value advance. And then the other logos, once that thing is gonna be done, we can also see this giving us a team-wide energy regeneration. Now, of course, because Cyrene doesn't have energy and Casual doesn't have energy, they will not be impacted by the energy themselves, right? So this is gonna come in very good. AV advance as well as an energy regen. Cyrene, I'm just gonna save this just for the sake of this purpose. I kind of want to just show you guys what Cyrene's support is gonna do, right? So for this particular hit, you can choose any unit here and it will instantly activate their ultimate and dispelling the action lock state. You don't really need to worry about the action lock state here because, you know, we're really broke in time, but generally I tend to always just give it to my unit that wants the ultimate the most. So for example, maybe if you are going to be using this for, let's just say, an elation team, you could just give this to Yao Guang instead of a DPS, just for additional alliances. Now if you want to give this, for example, Evanesia with double ultimate is going to be a lot more impactful compared to, for example, Silwolf, which you can't really cast ultimate anyways at that point in time, right? So it's not a very straightforward option. It just depends on which unit you do want to activate the ultimate. So for me, I'm just going to activate my Casterus. It's going to be 100%. It is not going to be a 200% Casterus, unfortunately. So we're just going to pop this. And then that should bring us safely into phase 3 right here. Actually, a little bit of an overkill. So it's really unfortunate that the Dragon doesn't actually have damage carry over. So hopefully they can add that for like a Noah flare in the future. So that's going to be that. And phase change. Oh my god, bro, this music is so good, right? So we're just gonna let go of our Dragon here immediately. We did lose a bit of AV because I mentioned the Dragon does not have AV carry over, it is fixed speed. So we basically have just one final action from Hyacinth, and we're definitely not going to be able to break these two hands. So kind of just want to show you guys a slow-mo of the Absolute Cinema ultimate animation right here, right? So I'm not even going to cast my ultimate whatever, I'm just going to let it hit, and let's just see what's up. Okay. Oh, just like 3.7. Oh, it's literally just like 3.7. Holy. So that is gonna be our Irontomb ultimate. And yes, for Irontomb's ultimate, it combines both the effect of the AV delay, or rather the action lock, as well as the energy reduction. So that ultimate will literally combine both. But other than phase 3's ultimate, when he starts charging, generally he will only cast a single debuff, right? Then the rest of the attack animation is going to be the exact same. He'll go for an attack, and then he will start charging for logos to cast his energy reduction if you cannot break him fast enough, right? So the rest of the fight is pretty much the literal exact same. I'm just going to pop this over here right now, get out a Casterus. And then once again, I'm really just taking my time here so that you guys can see what are the mechanics for this particular fight, right? Then this is just gonna go, this is just gonna go. You can see the damage dealt to my team was honestly pretty substantial, well, despite the fact that we were using a Hyacinth support, right? And yeah, my energy is gonna be running a little bit low because we did get hit with the energy reduction. So I am actually just gonna give this ultimate to my Hyacinth so that she can actually get her ultimate up a little bit more, because I've been holding my Cyrene ultimate stats for like God knows how long. Now I can actually finally let this go a little bit. Alright, so this is gonna come in. Hyacinth casts a skill over here just to replenish our out. And then, like I mentioned, the attack animation is just gonna be attack into the energy charge, right? So he's just gonna come here. AoE attack. Alright, so he's gonna hit us with Irontomb. It's fine. Attack, that's gonna be the action delay. And then he's gonna start charging for logos, right? So we're just gonna cleanse this. Alright, get rid of Irontomb, and that is going to be substantially more damage for us as well. I'm just going to pop this right here. Castress, I'm just going to let go of my ult right now. And then we are just gonna start dealing as much damage as possible, because once these two hands are done, again, like I mentioned, he still has the 50% damage taken reduction, which is just honestly super annoying. So whatever damage you guys see here, you can literally just do like close to maybe like 40-ish%, or it's just like really good amounts of like additional damage, right? If you can break both those hands. So this is gonna summon, and then once it's gonna pop in for the hit, I believe we should be just barely enough to get this. Okay, I do want to try and break this myself. Is that it's gonna be possible? Okay, so we did dispel the Grave Wound state for that summon, but unfortunately, Mythos is not the one that's going to be casting the debuff. It is going to be Logos. So if you do not break Logos here, right, if you do not place Logos in the Grave Wound state, Irontomb will still activate the next hit to drain our team's energy, right? So you do need to essentially break the right target, which might be a little bit annoying if you're going to be playing with like a bounce targeting, like for example with Caswitch Dragon. But at this point, we definitely have enough damage, because you can take a look over here. His HP is going to be literally at 1 HP, so one swipe. Right, get us a break, which also gives us the energy regeneration, and then we are just gonna slap this back in. And Irontomb, at this point, you can see his damage reduction buff has also expired, and his skills is almost gonna be down to 0. So we are gonna be dealing one of, yeah, this is basically the highest possible amount of damage, getting us the 0 cycle. Don't take this 0 cycle as a factor of consideration. I'm purely just doing this to show you guys what to expect for the Irontomb Anomaly Arbitration King fight. Right, so with that, I am gonna be ending off this video right here. Hope you guys have enjoyed something like this. Builds, you don't have to worry about it, because this fight is not about the 0 cycle. It is purely just about Irontomb. So yep, I will definitely look forward to when this fight is gonna be coming to the live server. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Right, I'm still gonna be looking forward to see if I'm thinking if we should do like a Amphorius full 0 cycle. Every single Amphorius DPS 0 cycles Irontomb here. I'll just think about it a little bit more. Word of the day is gonna be Cinema. Join Discord. Use code POKKE for 10% off gamer subs. All the best for Gacha Fools. I'll see you guys next time. Boom.